Aeneid, Book 2, lines 223 to 249. In this passage, we begin with a small epic simile comparing the sound of Laocoon's horrible cries as he's being killed by the twin serpents, likening it to the mooing of a bull in the midst of being sacrificed, which has gone horribly wrong. Qualis mugitus, just like the mooing, cum here plus the indicative must be translated as when. When a wounded bull has fled the altar and has shaken off, excusit, the incertam securum here. Incertam here, probably best translated something along the lines of misaimed, which is a terrifying thought. The misaimed axe from its neck, ablative of separation. Quite a separation. But not the permanent neck separation of the head. But the gemini, the twin dracones here, again serpents, dragons if you so desire, with a glide, ablative of manner, to the tops of the temples flee. Here we have a nice example of chiasmus. Chiasmus, chiasmus, A, B, then B, A word order, woo! And they seek the citadel of savage Tritonis, which is another nickname for Minerva. Subperibus que dea clipei que. And they are covered both under the feet of the goddess and under the orbe. Here is usually an orb or sphere. I'd probably go more with like the curve of her shield. Nice chiasmus word order here as well. Chiasmus, chiasmus, A, B, then B, I word order, woo! And again, with that sub repeated here, we've got an anaphora. This seems to be a nod to the Athena Parthenos statue, which an educated Roman would have been quite familiar with. Tum vero tremefacta novus, then indeed, novus here is modifying pavor, a new fear, insinuat. Now the verb literally means to wind among, but here probably more insinuate is the English word we get from it, winds around or winds through the trembling, shuddering chests, hearts, breasts, however you want to do that, of everyone. Cunctis dative of reference, possession if you want to do that too, that's fine. And we have another interesting word order here. Here it's synchesis, which again looks like the snakes writhing over each other. Again, then indeed a new fear winds through the trembling hearts of everybody. And ferunt here literally means to carry or bear, but it can also, in poetry in particular, have the sense of report or says, holds. And they say, and therefore it's a verb of the head, plus an accusative, la'akonta, plus the infinitive expendisse. Merentem here is a participle modifying that la'akonta, deserving. Please try and keep that literal. So they say that Laocoon had paid for his crime. Skelos here is a neuter noun, and so this is indeed the object of the verb expendisse. Deserving it, since he deserved it. Something along those lines there. Qui plus these two subjunctives treat as almost like causal. Yes, it's a qui, comma, who, but maybe because might be a good translation for here. Because he lyserit here, perfect subjunctive. We don't usually see this in the wild, but here, probably good translation, indirect statement. subordinate clause of a subordinate clause, because he befouled, he desecrated the sacred wood, the sacred oak, meaning of the Trojan horse, with a spear point, cuspide, by means of, ablative means. And he hurled, in torsit again, perfect subjunctive subordinate clause of a subordinate clause of an indirect statement. He hurled the sceleratum here is like criminal, and it's again related to scelos, what he was done. They believe, ferunt, their holding, was a crime, a religious crime against a sacred object. He hurled the criminal or shameful, however you want to treat that is fine, spear at its back, towards its back. He hurled the shameful, the wicked spear at its back. Ducendum here, ducendum, and oranda, those are both gerundives. Now, these kinds of gerundives, the odd goes with the sede, so this is not a gerundive of purpose. Instead, with this verb of the head, conclamant, they shout, plus the accusatives, simulacrum, innumina, we are lacking an infinitive, but if we were to provide an infinitive, it would be the verb to be. And so spidey senses should be tingling that gerundive plus a form of sum, even if it's a form of sum that you're implying. It must be thought fantastic, supercalifragilistic, passive periphrastic. Now, passive periphrastic is a way of expressing obligation. And the most famous expression is Carthago delenda est, Carthage must be destroyed. It is the nominative, or rather subject accusative here, plus a form of the verb to be plus a gerundive. The nominative, the subject, must be passive voice, ed, by a dative of agent, which is actually not provided here. So, they shout that the simulacra, the statue, the Trojan horse, must be led, passive voice, must be ed, to the temples, seres, the seats of the gods. And that the divinity, whose divinity? The divinity of the goddess, aka Minerva, must be prayed to. Numina conclamant here is one of those half-line hemistichs. And again, it is striking in its shortness. Dividimus, we divide the walls and we spread the walls. Now, muros, moenia, they are synonyms for walls, but usually the moenia are these walls of the city. So again, we divide the walls and we spread open the walls of the city. A kingunt here is to gather, and everybody gathers. Operi here, we've seen this before, actually describing Carthage, the work there. Here at Troy, everyone gathers for the work. Everyone is excited that the Greeks have gone and they can bring the horse into the city. It's a very festive mood, which is about to change very quickly. Everyone gathers for the work and they throw under subicio, they cast under the lapsus, the glides of wheels for the feet, pedibus. Again, they put it up on some kind of rollers. And they hang, now this intended here is literally, they hang rope chains, stupea vincula, from the neck of the Trojan horse. Scandid here, the fatalis machina. Now, we do get the word fatal from fatalis here, but more in the sense that, yes, it is a deadly machine, but the Trojans don't know that yet. Here, maybe the fateful might be a good translation here. The fateful machine climbs the walls, and it is feta armis, pregnant or stuffed with weapons. Again, continuing this image of a beast that is pregnant with the Greek soldiers that are going to come to kill the Trojans. Pueri kirkom, the children, the boys rather, and the unmarried girls sing sacred songs kirkom around. It understood the Trojan horse. And they rejoice to touch, contingere, the object with their hand, or rather the rope with their hand. Illa subit. Illa here is feminine and singular because it's referring back to that machina, the device, the horse. It approaches, and Menons, towering over the middle of the city, medii urbi here. We've seen minor before, the deponent verb here taking a dative object. It glides in, or it glides in to the middle of the city, towering above it. Menons is literally towering above it physically, but also has an element of threatening. And here we have a nice example of apostrophe, Aeneas. O patria, O country, O, or homeland, O domus, Dium, home of the gods, Troy, and the walls of the Trojans, famous for war, ablative of specification. Here, the walls, it's part of the reason why Neptune is opposed to the Trojans in the first place, because he was stiffed on the bill when he built those walls for Dardanos. 4 times. Oh, by the way, the Patria and the Domus and the Ilium and the Incluta, Moenia, all of those are in the vocative case because Aeneas is addressing them directly. 4 times on the threshold itself of the gate. It stopped. And dedere here, perfect indicative, syncopated, third person perfect, third person plural. 4 times, anaphora, the weapons gave a noise from the belly. But again, that imagery is continuing of the pregnant horse. Instamus. Nevertheless, we urge it on. Unthinking, in memores, we've seen that adjective before. Unthinking and blind with madness. Ablative of cause or even manner. And we position, we stop, we place the infelix monstrum. Now, usually infelix means unhappy, but here definitely unlucky for us. The unlucky, the unpropitious monster at the sacred citadel. Ablative of place where. Then, also, Cassandra. Now, she was a prophetess who was given the gift of unerring prophecy by Apollo and the curse that nobody would ever believe her as punishment for breaking up with him after receiving the gift. Cassandra, aperio here means to reveal. She's literally opening, but also revealing. She's opening her mouth, but also revealing the future. So we've got a little bit of a literal figurative meaning here. Then Cassandra opens her mouth, poetic plural, for the future fates. Not ever believed, dative of agent, by the Trojans on account of the order of the god, and the god, this one god happens to be Apollo, again, the one who cursed her. Again, then Also, Cassandra opens her mouth for the future fates. This mouth not ever believed by the Trojans on account of ablative of cause, the order of the god, aka Apollo. We miserable ones. Quibus here, dative plus the verb to be, spidey senses should be tingling that we've got a dative of possession. So we miserable ones, for whom ille dies, that day, esset, would be our last. Velamus, we decorate our temple, the temples of the gods, with festive greenery, by means of festive greenery, per urbem, through the city. That esset here is a subjunctive, most likely ablative characteristic, but that's not important.